The pen tool was used to create these rays. It was also used to create these shapes here and the little award guy. This Eddie's Film Festival, you would have already learned on the envelope distort technique, and there's nothing else really added to this. The alignment, the text were aligned, and it was copied and pasted over from the previous information here. So let's get started. Over on my layers, on my side here, you can see that I name everything, all the main groups, to keep it nice and organized. And if I scroll down, I'll see my rays, and if I turn off the eye, I can see that all the rays are gone. What I want to do is I'm just going to show you how I made these rays. If I click on one of them, you can see that it is a stroke. There is no actual fill to it. If I click on the properties of the arrays, you'll see that the stroke is 18 points and the opacity is 30%. So if I wanted to recreate it, I can go back to my layers, and I'm going to lock the layer below. And using my pen tool, I'm just going to click on the first point, second, third, fourth, and I closed my shape. Always make sure that you close your shapes. Your first point and your last point have to meet. And how do you know that they'll meet? Is when you drag your cursor over top of your very first point, you'll see that little circle on the screen. That means that you can click it and your points are now closed. So right now I have a white stroke around my edge. If I wanted to adjust the stroke, I can go over to the sidebar here and I can change up my stroke. I can bring it to 40 points. I can bring it back down to 18. If I want to work on some transparency, if you click over on the sidebar here for transparency, I can change my opacity down to 18%. I can make it 50% if you wanted it to be brighter. You can also adjust it later if you wanted to change it. So that is my first ray. What I want to do now is duplicate it. So I'm going to hit Control C or Command C, and then Control V or Command V. And you'll notice that it always just randomly places it in Illustrator. Oh, and you can also see that I did not copy the whole shape. So let's try that again. So I want to select the whole shape. If I click on it, Control C, Control V, and now I have my whole shape. And I'm going to scale it up. And I want to hold Shift because I do want them to be in the same proportion. And then I just place that over, and again, Control C, Control V. And I actually really didn't have to press Control C because it would have remembered my last one. And I'm just aligning them up to where I had them before. Okay, that's pretty good. It's nice and rough. And that's how I made my arrays. If you, again, you can go to your properties, you can see your opacity values here, or what you could do is you can hit the transparency. You have options to make your adjustments in multiple places. That's how all Adobe products work. Okay, I'm going to turn this off since I've already created that layer. Now what I want to show you is how I created the different shapes. It's essentially the same thing. I'll create a new layer, I'll lock that down. This time, instead of working with a stroke, I worked with a fill. And I'll make it a blue color this time so you can see it a little bit better. And I went from one point to another. I went beyond the design because I wanted to make sure that it went over with the bleed. And then I clicked on here. If you want to adjust your transparency, you can have a transparency where you're going to see multiple layers through. You can also change, and this is really common for a lot of people that are used to Photoshop. You can have it as an overlay, soft light, hue, saturation, darken, multiply. You can play around with your different modes here. And I'm just going to keep it at normal for now. So essentially that's what I did is I created a bunch of different shapes here